Hello Scrappy Tails Crafters. Today I'm going to be creating another pop-up using our new A7 pop-up birdhouse die set. This is the set that I'll be working with. You get this entire front page and that back that I just showed. And then I'm also going to pull in our new Birds and Blooms 6x8 stamp set. You can see I did quite a bit of stamping on these two sheets of Nina 110-pound white cardstock. And that is because I was prepping some other birdhouse cards, and I'll have a video on those later on. But today I wanted to just showcase one card so that I can show you a slowed down version of how to fully assemble the birdhouse. And then for my next couple videos, I can speed up the video a bit so that I can show multiple cards, but at least you'll have something to refer to if you want a more comprehensive step-by-step tutorial. So I did stamp out all these images with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. This is an alcohol-friendly ink, so I am using my Copic markers to color in these images, and these birds are really fun to color. They're a nice size. I am using, for the most part, 3 markers per image. And I always start from my darkest color and then move to my mid-tone and then my lightest color. I use my darkest marker to map out my shadows. So for the roses, I am adding my shadow colors to the base of each petal or to the center of each flower. And then for the birds, I am going with a center highlight, so I'm focusing most of my shading on the outer edges and leaving my highlight in the center of my birds. I will show you how I colored this bird here, but for some reason my camera cut off coloring the other 2 birds. But I did color one a blue and yellow bird, and then the other one is more like a pinky brown color. And then this one I'm using my warm grays. And I believe the bird that I'm coloring here is a sparrow, so that is why I chose these colors. I also wanted to keep the birds somewhat neutral because I am coloring the flowers in bright pinks, and then I'll also have bright green for the leaves. And as you can see, I have brought out quite a few bird stamps throughout the years. And that was another reason why I wanted to bring out another pop-up birdhouse. I say another because we do also have a slimline pop-up birdhouse that I have featured in a lot of other videos I can link to if you want to see that pop-up. But I wanted an A7 sized birdhouse, and I really wanted to create that classic, almost schoolhouse shape birdhouse. And what's nice about it is you can cut the top off of it and make it into an A2 birdhouse, and I will show that in an upcoming video. But for today I'm just going to use it as the die was intended. And then I'm just going to use these stamped images to decorate the front of my birdhouse. I am going to be cutting down this stamp that I'm coloring because it is quite large. It would look really great as a focal point on a flat card design, but I wanted to use different elements of it throughout my design. So I'm going to add the nest behind the window of the birdhouse, and then I'm going to use the bird on top of the roof, and then I'll even use some of the flowers in different places. So definitely cut up your stamped images if they're too big, because you can tuck them behind things to hide any sort of cutting imperfections, and you'll see that later. So I'm just going to finish up the coloring here. I did slow it down. Typically I speed through my coloring much quicker than this, but because I am only doing a single card, I thought that it would be nice to show the full coloring. And I do know a lot of people prefer coloring lightest to darkest back to their lightest, but I have a problem of tending to overblend, so that's why I always start with my darkest, and it's a faster way to color. So there, I just showed you the completed colored images. Again, I'm sorry I somehow did not film those last 2 birds, but I colored them the exact same way. And here I have my birdhouse cut. I cut the base from blue cardstock and then those wood grain decorative panels from white cardstock. I am lining up the holes on those panels over my base so that I can cut the windows through the base. So you can leave these birdhouses solid, or you can cut through little windows so that you can see inside the card. And it's very easy just to hover these wood grain panels right over the base so that you know where to cut your window. And then included in the die set are 2 styles of decorative frames that can go around the windows. I went with the simple, just classic oval. There's also a scalloped oval, which is also cute. And I cut that from dark blue cardstock. And I am adding 2 heavyweight white layers behind for a little bit more dimension. And I thought I wanted my roof to also be this color, but you'll see later on I end up changing that. There's also a little bird perch that goes below the bottom window, so I'm just going to add that. And then here I have my, I guess, darker teal roofs that I'll go ahead and glue down. But as I'm adding my stamped images, I felt like I wanted craft instead because that nest is brown. A couple of my birds are a brownish color, so I felt like craft was a better roof color. So here's what I mean when I said I did cut apart this larger image. I'll also even cut up that bird over to the left. But it's very easy just to cut some flowers off and some leaves and tuck it behind the different birds. And here's where I decide it would be cute to have the nest actually inside the birdhouse. And there's a cute sentiment in the same stamp set that says, "Bless this nest," which I wish I used that sentiment on this card, but I already had a bunch of like pre-heat embossed and pre-die cut sentiments that I just chose from that pile. But that would be perfect for this card, and it's great for new homeowners. So again, I thought actually I would go with a gray roof, and I do like the gray a lot. I think that's a great choice, but I ended up going with the craft, so I'll just glue the craft right on top of the gray, and now that roof, or both roof pieces, have a little bit of dimension now that I added all these colorful layers underneath. And here I'm just going to line up my stamped images just so that I have a good idea of what this is going to look like. This was actually my first birdhouse, so I didn't want to glue anything down yet in case I mess something up. So I'm going to actually assemble my birdhouse first, and I'm going to start by adding these 2 connector pieces that are included in the second part of the die set that come in the 4x6 card. I cut 2 of those and I attach them together. Then again, I'm going to cut that same window through the rightmost rectangles. And then once I have that window cut, I can go ahead and close it off with that 1/2 inch glue tab, connecting each end together. And that's it. That's basically just a little box that connects the front of your birdhouse to the back. And I went with the same blue that I used on the base. And then this is the same exact connector, just smaller. This is going to go on the top of the birdhouse. So again, I'm just connecting each together to create one longer strip. And then eventually I'll close it off at the top here, but again, I want to cut that top window from this piece. And this time I'm going to line it up on the second rectangle in the middle. And you really don't have to be super precise with this because there is extra area behind this base, so you can wiggle it around if you have to. Again, I'm going to close off the ends and then glue it to the back of my birdhouse, lining up those windows. And then I'm going to seal the back off with another base that I cut from the same blue cardstock. And you can decorate the back, you can add a little area to write a message, but I just left mine this blue base. And now we can attach the roofs. And for the bottom roof, we're going to use 2 of these pieces. So I did cut this die out twice from the same craft cardstock, and it kind of looks like a T with a large glue tab at the top. And then there's also these little tiny square glue tabs that you can add your glue to attach these pieces permanently, and that will create a home decor piece. If you want the cards to fold flat though, you're going to want to cut those little squares off so that you're left with just a little rectangle and that glue tab at the top. And then there's also a 1/16 of an inch score line at the very bottom, which you're going to fold that downwards, and that's just going to help create that roof shape once this is attached. And then all you do is add glue to that top glue tab, fold it down, and attach it to the top connector piece. And give it a few seconds to fully dry. You can flatten the card to make sure that it's nicely attached. But it is very important that you let that glue dry, otherwise it will just fall off and it won't pop into place properly. So I went ahead and did that side. Now I'll move over to the right side. Again, this is the same exact piece. I'm going to give it a few minutes just to fully attach to that top connector piece. Going to push it and then also fold the card flat. And then here you can see when it pops up, it just goes right into place. And I love that it fully closes the card, so it's nice and clean. So now we're going to work on the top roof piece. And this is my roof connector. If you have the storefront dies, you know how this piece works. You're going to just fold in those outer glue tabs, add glue to them, and usually I offset these tabs, but in this case I guess I went with both of them going in the same direction towards the right side, and they're designed in a way where they're angled to match the angle on the roof. So try to glue it as high up as possible and match up those angles. And then at the top you can see there's another glue tab, and that is where we're going to attach the roof. Again, this roof piece also has those little squares where you can permanently attach it, but I'm going to cut it off, or cut them all off, so that this card folds flat. And then basically this looks like 2 squares on the left and right side, and then again there's that 1/16 of an inch score line at the end of each square, and that's just going to help it look more like a roof. Alright, and then you're going to line up the score line, the center score line on the roof piece with the roof attachment, and then again pinch it so that it dries. Give it a fold at the top and do a little bit of a pinch just so that it trains the score line to go in the direction you want it to go into. Then go ahead and fold it flat, make sure it's nicely adhered, and then go ahead and open and close it a few times so that again it trains those pieces to go where they're supposed to go. And here you can see I just popped that birdhouse back up, and those roof pieces just slide right into place. It's really cool to watch. So again, I am back to my stamped images, and you can actually glue your decorative pieces before assembling your card, but again, this was my first one, so I just wanted to make sure everything worked before I committed to these colored images I spent a lot of time on. So I tucked that nest behind the window of the birdhouse. I added glue to the bottom and to the sides of the nest so that it would stick. And then this little sparrow bird is going to go on the bottom left corner. And these were the flowers that I cut from the nest. You can see that it looks a bit like a botched cut job, but when you add the sparrow on top, you can't even see that they were two separate stamps. So go ahead and add that bird. And then my pinky brownish bird will go on the top right corner. I tucked in some more leaves just to add more color behind the bird. And then this last one is going to go towards the top. Again, I cut off these little roses from this bird, and I just moved some of the roses to the bird on the right, and you'd never know that I cut up the majority of these stamps. Then all I'm going to do is add some pink pearls to the centers of the open-centered flowers. And I think that finishes off the card. I am going to add a white heat embossed sentiment that says, "I love you, Mom." Again, "bless this nest" would be super cute. And then I'll go ahead and fold the card completely down, and then I'll pop it back up. And I actually had to fold those bottom roof pieces upwards because the birds got in the way if they were to go downwards. So it kind of just depends on where you place your images, but either way it works. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video tutorial. If you have any more questions or comments, please leave them down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!